Welcome to the Positive Youth Development Podcast. Today, we are excited to have Nat Corrall with us from the YMCA of San Diego County, where we're going to deep dive into the new framework for supporting children and young people and our youth mental health. Nat, you are very welcome on the show with us today. Good morning, how are you?
Good morning, I'm doing great. It's good to be with you on a Monday.
Well, we're very excited that you are here. Before we deep dive into our topic, could you share a little bit with our listeners about your journey, what led you to work with the YMCA, specifically camps, and your passion for youth development?
Of course, yeah. So as you might hear, I also have an accent. So I was a teacher in Australia, came to America to do summer camps just for 3 months back in the 90s. And as soon as I started in camp, I knew I didn't want to go back to a traditional classroom. I absolutely loved it. I loved working with kids in the outdoors, in nature, and really just focusing on what the kids wanted to do for fun and enjoyment and experience and education and all the good things. So I came for 3 months, and now I've been part of the YMCA for 26 years. So I'm about to go into my 26th summer here at the YMCA in San Diego. 17 of my years was at YMCA Camp Surf, an amazing location in Southern California. So I loved my time there. I still get to go there a bunch, which is awesome. And now I get to do a lot of work with our day camps, our overnight camps, and represent our YMCA on a global stage, actually doing PYD and camping internationally as well as here locally in San Diego. So yeah, it was a 3-month gig that became my dream career.
That is awesome. You have a wealth of experience to share with us today. I can imagine then you have been part of this sector for many, many years, and you've seen many different challenges from the generations of kids that are coming through camp. Today's kids are facing very unique challenges. They're impacted significantly with their emotional and mental health. How do you think camp can help counteract that experience for our kids?
You know, it's so interesting when people talk about the challenges that kids face nowadays, because camp fits into those challenges so perfectly that I actually think, we say camp is the perfect place for a kid to struggle, right? Because it's this safe, brave environment where they get to be their authentic self. And we've always been that way. That's always been what camp has been about. So I think back in the 90s and maybe the early 2000s, camp was seen as just kind of this fun place to go, right? People maybe didn't see it as a place where kids were really learning and growing and really becoming themselves. We knew that as people who worked in camp, but maybe parents and the community just saw it as a fun outdoor experience. It is definitely that. It's definitely fun in the outdoors, but now with the focus on youth and our staff's mental health, I think camp is really highlighted as a space where you can go and really just learn, be who you are, really dive into that person and go through some of those struggles, find your voice, make decisions, be challenged with problem solving and making choices, but in this safe environment with adults and peers that really care about you. That's always been camp, but now it's really focused on this is going to help you through your stages of life, even when you're not at camp, which is super exciting for us.
It really is a very valuable experience for kids spent like even a week or even some of our day camps. It provides that experience for them to connect. You have had multiple roles within your leadership track. What excites you now about what you're doing today and being able to advocate for PYD and the difference that that's going to make?
I love the focus on everyone having a voice in their camp experience. So sure, I might be the person with the title and the experience and all of that, but an 18, 19-year-old staff member who has, went to school during the pandemic and comes out and is also figuring out how do you make friends and what does that look like now. Their lived experience directly impacts the lived experience of our kids at camp. And I don't think I ever saw that before. Before, we gave them a schedule, people lived it, they had fun, they said goodbye to the kids, they welcomed the next group. Now I see our staff being like, wow, I'm really a part of this kid's life journey and I want them to have a say in it. That's so different to what we used to see in the past. And so it really excites me when I'm out at camp. A great I have millions of examples and I could share them for our whole time together. But a great example was, I was out at camp a few weeks ago, one of our day camps, and kids were playing Gaga. Right, it's this really popular game that happens all around the world, right, at camp. But instead of just jumping in the pit and playing Gaga as it is, the staff member said, "What's one rule we could change?" And the kids were like, "What?" Like, we just play the game the way it's meant to be played. And the staff member was like, "Why? You can make this game whatever you want." It was such a simple thing. But then the kids started working together, figuring out what they wanted this game to be. They changed a different rule every time they played it throughout the week. And then on Friday, they had created this whole new game, right? It's such a little thing, right? It's just a different way to have fun. But it really just encouraged kids that, like, hey, you can make this what you want to make it, And that's really exciting, just seeing people taking the schedule, camp is busy. We keep kids busy all day, right? But that busyness also has your voice and your choice in it. And kids are really designing the program along with the staff, which I love seeing. And I learn things. Kids will come up with something and be like, "Can we do this?" And I'm like, "Let me go through. Like, is it safe? Is it okay? Will you make friends? Are you going to be achieving something? Yeah, let's give it a go." And I watch it and I'm like, that was awesome. So yeah, I think it's just, for me, it's a great opportunity to continue to learn in such a new and exciting way.
So you're just summarizing there that like we're not changing the work for the kids at camp, we're changing the approach of the adults that are engaging with the kids.
That's exactly right. And I think by doing that, it's so interesting to me that for some staff and kids, it might be the first time they've ever been asked, like, "Well, what do you want it to look like?" And they're kind of startled, right? But then they dive into it. When they get comfortable in being in that space of like, what does this look like for you? It's pretty extraordinary, actually, what the outcome is.
I'm sure you have many more stories, powerful stories. What sticks out in your mind of some of those most powerful moments when you've been at site and you've seen those PYD practices and the outcome for the kids?
Yeah, there's so many. We partner with parents. Parents know their kids better than we will, right? And so we want to make sure that parents understand, like, we are going to give your kid a voice at camp for their experience. And so it might look a little bit different. At the end of the day, let me take one of our day camps, for example. Our day camps do rallies at the end of the day. All the kids come together and it's high energy, lots of singing and involvement and performances, super fun for probably 80% of people. 80% of people are like, yes, this is camp, right? There's a group of people that are like, this is a lot. I've had a really busy day and now you want me to sit and listen and sing and be loud. But for us, that's like, yeah, that's camp. We finish it with being energetic and excited. Now I go out to camp and I can see that's still happening, right? That is still happening for most of the people who come to camp. Most of the kids are super excited. But there's a way for the kids that aren't excited about that to now engage in that experience, right? So we set up tables to the side where they're still supervised by staff, they're still interacting with friends, but they're able to do something more quiet and you see them look over, "Oh, I want to be involved in that song," or "I don't want to right now, I want to come back and finish my craft project," right? Or "I just want to listen, I just want to watch from the side, but I don't want to be made to clap and sing and stand up." That's okay. If you just want to sit and listen to all the fun, sit and listen to all the fun and engage in it. And then I see those kids leave now really excited to come back the next day. And that's what we really want, right? Like, we want kids to, we call it fab. Let's have a fab day. Let's make friends. Let's achieve something new and let's belong. And we don't want to do that just for a day. We want you to come back and do it again, right? And so I see that happening a lot where I'll look out at a camp experience and I'll see like, wow, all the kids are safe, they're supervised, they're with friends, but they're doing it their own way a little bit. And there's still direction from staff. Staff just aren't sitting back and saying, okay, it's the kid's voice, do whatever you want. No, the kids are definitely, the staff are definitely right in there involved, leading the way, taking them to activities, making sure they're connected. But when they see that a child now, and that's the difference, in staff training, we say, yes, here's your schedule and here's all the things we're going to achieve in the week. And here are the opportunities throughout the week that you can connect with kids and see how they want it to look. right? And so there's still direction, there's still goals for the program and for the staff member, but now they have this freedom, this guideline, this framework with positive youth development, right, to actually engage the kids when they see like, oh, I'm not sure if that kid's connecting the way that it's set up. How can we do that to make sure the kid's involved, right? Which is awesome, which is great.
And where has this has been a mindset shift for yourself and I'm sure for the staff that work within these programs. What has caused this shift in your mindset? And what has sparked this? Because we can have training and we can read articles, but really what has resonated with you that now when you're looking through the different lens, when you see camp and you see this PYD lens, so what has changed that outlook for you?
It's a great question. For me, for me, personally and professionally, I like structure. That's who I am as a person, right? So when positive youth development first came in, I tried to really fit it into a box. Okay, how can we do positive youth development but still have structure? Still make sure that we're meeting all of these promises that we're making to families. We make a lot of promises to our families about what the week of camp, overnight camp, day camp will look like, and I really want to make sure we achieve all of them to the best of our ability. Right? So at the start, it was a little challenging to be like, how are we going to achieve this? I've done it this way for a really long time and it's been successful. So why would I change it? That doesn't seem to make sense. But then the thing that really stood out with positive youth development and the Super Six, right? The 6 things that we really focus on is we're already doing a lot of these things, right? So it wasn't necessarily new. It was just taking what we were doing and making it more intentional. So we're already talking to kids at the end of the day, right? We're already sitting in a circle saying, tell us about your day. But now instead of telling us about your day, it'll be like, talk to us about a moment you had with a friend today that was really exciting. Tell us about a time today where you decided what your day looked like and how did that feel like. These are things that happened before, but we never debriefed them and dived into them and really made them intentional. So I think once we all, myself and the team, realised like, oh, wait a minute, we don't have to learn new things. We just have to adapt or tweak what we're already doing to make it intentional. And that's positive youth development. So one of the things we did in staff training was we listed a bunch of things we do at camp, just everything. Like we eat, we go to swim, we play games. Okay, here's all the things we do. Now, what's one thing we do with all of them that makes it PYD? What's one thing we're already doing? And we had more than one for every single one of those things. So once we realised we were doing it, I think that motivated us and encouraged us to be like, oh, we're already doing it. Let's just do it the best we possibly can every single day. So that's what we're doing.
And it's awesome to hear. It is definitely a mindset shift. And you've summed it up nicely in terms of you've always provided quality. You've had quality programs, and the PYD approach is slightly different. So how would you describe the difference between like the quality program and then this PYD aligned approach? What is the little breadcrumbs that make this really, really different, and how youth and staff engage slightly differently when you have the PYD lens on?
This is actually one of the easiest questions because the biggest difference is camp before PYD focus used to be all about the camp experience. With the PYD focus, it's taking camp and making sure that what you learn at camp actually impacts you the whole year through. That's the biggest difference. How can we take what you're learning and doing at camp and make it impactful enough that you can use those skills when you're not at camp? So all of a sudden you've learned at camp to have a voice, right? Someone's asking you, but what do you want it to look like? We don't want that just to now be something that when someone asks you, you have a voice. We want you to leave camp and realise, like, actually, I get to have a little bit of decision on my attitude, right? Like, we had a kid, it was really funny. A kid came, we have a song at one of our day camps where they say, I feel good, yeah, oh, I feel so good, yeah. And one of the kids said, but I don't feel good. Like, I feel okay, but why should I say yeah if I don't feel good? And I'm like, valid. Like, that's a valid question, right? And so all of a sudden we said, I was like, that's a really good question. You should go and ask your counsellor. You should ask your camp leader about that. Because I just wanted to watch and see what happened, right? And the camp leader, pre-PYD, would have said, just sing it. Like, it doesn't matter. You'll be fine, right? And you will be fine. It's a fun song. You'll go on with your day, whatever. But now with the PYD approach, the staff member was like, what would you want it to sing? What would you want it to say? And the kid was like, I think it should say, I feel so good, yeah. I feel okay, yeah. I feel fine, yeah. And we should get... And so now that's what the song is. I go to that day camp now and I see them doing that and I'm like, this is awesome, right? Because not only did that kid have a voice there, but the counsellor, the leader listened to them, made the change, but now every other kid was impacted. Right, all these other kids now get to choose how they feel for that day, and so we told all the campers, we were like, hey, remember when we used to sing the song this way? It's actually because this camper showed us, and that's really important. So even when you leave camp and people ask how you are, you can be honest and tell people if you're doing great or if you're not doing great. Like, that's okay. And that's PYD, right? Taking it from not only what we're doing at camp, but when you leave camp, this actually matters and you can continue that even when your camp leader's not by your side. Yeah, that's what PYD is for me.
Love that. And it sounds like there's just that intentionality. The programming and the camp experience was there, but it's the intentionality now that the relationship and the connections between the staff and the campers are as important as the delivery of the actual program and the experience. Kids need skills, and those skills will translate into their lives. We know that kids need resilience. Resilience is a big, big thing. We don't wake up and just put on our superhero resilience cape. It takes that PYD environment where we're developing relationships, experiences, and the environments. How can camp help build some of those resilient skills in the kids?
At overnight camp, so we have 3 overnight camps here in San Diego, and I'm biased. I think they're all absolutely phenomenal. And I go to camps all around the world, right? And I love our camps here in San Diego. Our team, the staff, well, when it comes to resilience, you have to be a little bit vulnerable, right? Which can be a little bit uncomfortable for us as we're older, right? Kids seem to dive into that space way easier, right, than we do a little bit. But when it comes to resilience, I see it in our overnight camps a bunch where our staff are really role modelling that, right? They're really role modelling that you can own that you had that feeling, right? Instead of maybe being like, okay, come on, let's get it together, let's get better, we're going to have a really fun day, right? Let's move on, let's move to the next thing. Instead of focusing on that, now there's actually just the time and the space to be like, does it really matter if we're 5 minutes to flag lowering? Or if we're 2 minutes late for breakfast? Okay, we don't want to be late every day, right? Because we want to make sure our waffles are warm. But if that means that the kids get to sit for a minute and go, wow, what's happening this morning? And what does this look like? And what does this day look like? And they have that moment to sit with themselves and just accept that they feel a certain way or that they had a moment, right? That we had a moment instead of being like, let's not do that again, right? Let's not yell. Be like, why? Why did you yell? Why did you feel the need to yell? Or why did you do that? And sometimes kids know and sometimes they don't. And that's okay. To be like, okay, we don't know. Can we work together to try and figure that out? Maybe not right now because we want to go to breakfast and we want to have pancakes and we want to start our day. But I want to be able to figure this out with you, right? If you'll have me, right? If you'll have me sit with you and do this. And building that ability to know how you feel, to accept it and be able to work on what made you feel that way helps you then realise ways that now I can not feel that way, right, if I choose not to. And I see this happening in our programs all the time now. I know I said at the start, camp is the perfect place to struggle. It's because there is that time to sit and go, hey, like, it's okay that you felt that way, but we don't really want to feel that way all the time, right? We don't want to be sad or angry or have whatever this emotion is all the time. So what caused it and how can we work to see how that could maybe look a little bit different next time if you want it to. And I don't know if kids know that it's resiliency, right? If that's what they're actually building, but they're building a way to figure out how to frame how they're feeling and accept it. Accept that that's how they were feeling, be able to work towards it. So I don't know if that answers your question, but That's how I see staff really helping kids work through being more resilient, right? Being able to not bounce back, right? I think resiliency used to be, let's bounce back, let's move on, let's get over it, let's bounce back. That's actually not what it is, right? We want to work through it with you, so that you understand it even when we're not with you.
It's a beautiful example. We talk about kids being seen and heard, and that's a beautiful example as when they are struggling or they're not quite on task with something. It's not about the task. It really is taking the time to see, hear, and feel what they are experiencing and their perspective.
And you know what, Jackie, you actually taught us this thing, and I use it all the time. I was just presenting last week with YMCA Europe, right? I had the opportunity to go and present on positive youth development, which was phenomenal. And I use your great example of what is the focus of an activity, right? Is the focus of sitting at arts and crafts to complete that activity? For some kids, it might be, right? They're super excited. You know, you make this amazing penguin, which I can't do, right? Out of paper. But, you know, you make this penguin, and you know what? A bunch of kids might be super excited to watch you and follow it and make the penguin, but then you've got, Juan in the corner, or Shelby sitting over there making a panda, right? And you might be like, wait, we're meant to make penguins. But the focus of it was never about the penguin, right? The focus of like sitting with a group of friends, chatting to people, achieving something, whatever that looks like. Staff, when they realize like the activity is just the tool for all this awesomeness that's happening, sure, we want to be able to give guidance, right? And do things at camp. We don't just leave it open, but that there's flexibility within that voice, that choice, that looking a little bit different, that all goes towards positive youth development. Every single part of that is a part of that bigger picture. And it actually, you see it with staff, the stress level is so much less, right? Because maybe before positive youth development, they were like, everyone needs to make a penguin. Please, everyone make the penguin. Now it's like, oh, we're making the penguin, you're making a panda. I don't even know what that kid's making, but he's talking to his friend and he's having fun. And that's the focus of the time together. That's awesome. I love seeing that at camp. It's so fun.
It really is just that shift in the mindset. Like it's about the process and the journey, and it's not outcome focused in terms of what the kids are doing or making. It's interpersonal kind of skills and the relationship that they are having and they are bonding with other kids is really where the outcomes come from. There's a lot of misconceptions about our kids and the youth of today and the challenges that they face. What do you think some of these are, and how do you think camp is helping change those narratives?
Biggest one, without a doubt, is technology. At overnight camp, you completely unplug, right? Even as a staff member, you don't have your phone on you at all times, right? You have time off, but other than that, and it's amazing, I see staff in their time off and they don't even know where their phone is, right? Because they've gone all day without it. Parents, when they drop their kids off at camp, I think this is, and I get it, can be where some of the hesitation is. This might be the first time in a long time you haven't been able to have access to your kid whenever you want them. I always say to parents, call us anytime. This is your child. You have access to them, right? And so if you're worried, if you want to touch base, if you want to chat to them, we'll go grab them, bring them to the office. They can chat to you. No problem at all, right? But they're not going to have their phone with them at all the whole week. And day one, kids can be a little bit like, they're wondering what's happening in the outside world a little bit. I'm going to say almost guarantee you, right? So I don't want to say 100%. I don't speak to every single child that leaves camp, but a good portion of kids, especially our teenagers, will say that one of their favourite thing about camp was that they did not have their phone. That for 1 week, I actually had a kid say to me last summer, who I've known for a really long time. I've known him since he was 7. He's come to camp for as long as I can remember, his whole childhood, right? Which I love. I love seeing kids return every year and watching them grow. And he said, for 1 week every summer, nothing can be my fault, my problem, my stress. I just have to be me at camp, right? And so that's amazing. And I think the misconception is we think kids will not be okay with it. Right? We think that they won't survive without it, to be dramatic, right? They're completely fine. When kids are at camp, they're not talking about their phones, they're not talking about Instagram or social media. It's just not part of the experience, and they are fine with it. I'm going to go out on a limb and say they're more fine with it than the parents are at home, right? Kids are fine. And for most of them, I say they actually embrace it. After that first kind of day, because it's an adjustment, I get it. When I go to camp and I put my phone in the office and I head to the dining hall where we eat, we have no phones in the dining hall, even for adults. And I go into that space. The first day I'm like, oh wait, no, I'm here to connect with kids. What am I looking for my phone for? And, by Tuesday lunchtime, by Wednesday breakfast, I'm not even thinking about where my phone is, because I'm like, yes, this is my time to connect. And so I think camp really does take that back to the basics, and the misconception is that kids will not be okay with it, and they're completely fine.
It really is about being present. They have no distractions. They are being present. It's in the moment, and it's connecting with their peers or with the staff or staff on staff.
And people are connected to them. Like, you can see it. They feel like people are actually listening to them, talking. You've got the quiet kid that comes on day one, and then at the end of the week, they're chatting. I always say it's so funny. On the first night, I'd walk out to the dining hall at Camp Surf. It's on the beach. It's beautiful. You walk in there, and at the first Sunday night meal, it's so quiet. It's so quiet. It's just the staff being like, so, tell me about yourself. And, oh, you like soccer. They like soccer, and try to make these initial connections. You go to camp on Wednesday dinner, you're not going to get a word in. That thing is just full of conversation because no one's been distracted. All they've done is connect with each other, and they've found all these amazing ways that they actually are connected to other people in their group, right? And now they're just talking and learning, and the friendships are being built. And it's amazing. I always say I love seeing the difference. If you're ever going to go to overnight camp and just observe it on day one, and then go back in the middle of the week, and you'll be like, oh, this is what connection's about. This is what building friendship is all about. And that's happening. And the kids, it starts with the staff member guiding it. By the middle of the week, the staff member's there, and the kids are making it all happen. It's awesome.
Is there any other observations that you see or you would hope to see? So that's one example of like the phones, and you've said about like kids having a little bit more freedom. If we fast forward maybe 12, 18 months and you're visiting some of your sites, what do you hope to see? What other observations would you hope to see through the PYD lens?
I dream big. I would love to see kids leading all the big moments of the day. Right? I would love to walk into a location and see a group of campers getting up and welcoming all the other kids for the day. You've got kids that come back year after year. They know the schedule really well. They know camp really well, right? They can tell people what's going on. Let them tell all the kids what's going to happen today. Like, let them stand up and have that role and be a leader and be the one that their friends can ask, like, hey, where are the bathrooms? Or what are we doing next? Or do I need my towel if I'm going there? Or whatever the question is, right? Let them be that. That's the next step for what I see. And I see it happening. The reason why I know it can happen is I'm starting to see it. I'm starting to see that staff are saying to kids, who wants the opportunity to do this or that? And it might look a little different, and it might not go exactly how you planned it, right? The kids will be kids, and they're going to stand up and say, some funny things, and they might sing a different song and all that. It wasn't about the song, right? It wasn't about this. It was about giving those kids the opportunity to stand up and lead their peers and have that voice and have that confidence, right, to be there. I would love to see that. And what I'm also starting to see that I would really love to see more, and this really does engage parents in the PYD experience as well, is intentional goal setting. All of our kids at camp, I shouldn't say all, because once again, I don't speak to every kid, but I speak to a lot of them. Most of our kids at camp set goals, right? And if they don't tell anyone their goal, they have a goal inside them, right? They have something that they want to achieve. It could be stand up on a surfboard. It could be get to the top of the climbing tower. It could be make a friend, right? Like, it could be very different for every single kid, but intentionally knowing what your goal is, and then being able to celebrate whatever that level of success is at camp, within yourself, and then within your home, whoever your caregiver, your guardian, your parent, your grandparent, whoever it is. Having that goal and being able to achieve that goal and know that you achieved it and celebrate it is a really big deal. And I would love to see us really break that down even more, because it's happening. Kids have goals and they're achieving them, but once again, the PYD part is making it intentional. So for me, that's the next next step of really making sure that kids understand, like, this is a goal and this is how you achieved it and this is how we're going to celebrate it, is really exciting. That's where I'd love us to be this time next year.
Sounds great. Lots of work to be done.
Uh-huh.
Camp is a beast. You said you've day camp, you've overnight camp. It's a huge operation. There's a lot of staff that need to be supported and trained and coached. How can you prepare your staff so that all of these moments have intention, and every moment that they have with the kids is an intentional conversation where they're coming through that PYD lens? So how can you take now what you've learned and how you're going to be able to support and coach and train all of the staff and seasonal staff that you need to make this possible?
It starts now. PYD starts from the moment someone applies. Right, so from the moment they apply to come to the YMCA and be in child and youth development, everything from our websites to our application to our interview process is all PYD. If you look at it, I really hope people do go and look at it and be like, oh, I can see how this is embedded in everything we do from the moment they walk in. And then honestly, it's like a camper experience. From the moment our staff come to us, they are welcomed, they're encouraged to be their authentic self, they're given a voice to have choice, right, in how things look, but they're also given direction and guidance and skill. We train a lot, and training doesn't just end. I always say it's actually staff orientation when we're doing all the workshops. The training happens when the kids come, right, because they're the ones that are going to really, put it all to the test. But we're continually doing in-services, learning and embedding PYD. It's not just a 1 hour training. It's not like, okay, we're going to do positive youth development for 1 hour. Okay, now we're going to go to behaviour guidance. And now we're going to go to how to fill out a timesheet, right? All of these things are important, but PYD is the one thing that is just embedded in every single thing we do. So you learn archery, right? And you learn all the safety, everything we're going to do for archery. And then we learn about what was PYD with archery. Well, we set a goal, right? And then we achieved the goal. And then how did we debrief it? What did you get to? Did you do this? Did you do that? It's not just about hitting the bullseye. Maybe it's about hitting the balloon that's filled with paint. And now we're going to use all the paint that fell on the paper to make an art project. Who's super excited about art? What do you want to make with the art? And so it's just like embedded into everything that we're doing all the time. And staff, because of the way they are welcomed and they are encouraged and they are setting goals, right? And they are learning, they've now just learned exactly what it is to be PYD with their campers. They've lived the same experience. We're not saying you live this experience as a staff member and a kid lives a different experience. We're all, even after decades of being at camp, we're all doing PYD. We're all having those positive development experiences by being a part of camp. And so staff training is a huge part of it, but those check-ins, we do thermometer check-ins with all of our staff, just like we would with a group of kids at camp. If you say, having a great day, hey, I'm not really sure, I need you to come and chat to me. We do it with our staff as well, right? Like, tell me, where are you on a 5, or you giving me a thumbs up, or whatever it looks like for that staff member, where are you at so I can support you so you can support the kids. Right? And so it's that whole approach of you're really important to this whole thing working, right? To these kids having this amazing, lifelong, impactful experience. So I want to make sure it's that experience for you as a staff member as well. And that's why so many of our staff come back, right? Because it's a hard job. It's not an easy job, right? It's a long, energetic day with lots of personalities and lots of emotion and lots of different goals and lots of things to achieve. But they're feeling it themselves, which gets them excited. If they're growing, the kids are growing, right? And that's what positive youth development's about.
I love that, because it really is about us as adults modelling these behaviours. And the kids learn and they see, and it's authentic when it's being modelled in practice. A lot of your staff are young staff as well. So how is the lens supporting the young staff and their mental health and development?
I'm so grateful for our young staff. I look out onto like a field of energy and I'm like, ugh, that's not me anymore, right? Like, I'm so excited when I see the energy, right? But young staff are really great at being themselves. Like, it's amazing to me. It's so exciting when I see a group of, and I say young staff, it's these adults, right? Leaders, lifelong leaders in this camp or this child and youth development or this positive youth development space, right? These lifelong leaders are really in it because they are learning. And when I speak to them, and if you ask any of them, and I say to anyone, you go to camp, say to a staff member, like, what was something that happened today? What was something great? They're really able to pinpoint. They know that they're making a difference. I don't know if we ever really highlighted it before, right? Like, you are making a difference. You might not know, right? Like, you might not know that thing you said to that kid, that motivating word, taking that time to sit down and talk to them, right? Really made a difference. But now they realise it because through positive youth development, their supervisors at the Y are doing that with them. They're sitting down and checking in with them. They're asking about their day, right? They're doing the same thing for them. So they feel seen and heard, and they know that they're an important part of the experience because they're being told that all the time, right? It's voiced to them all the time. Our CEO, Todd Tibbetts, comes out to our camp programs and says, like, you are making this happen. I'm in my office. I'm doing other work, right? You are there. You're the one that's connecting to that kid that will make a difference. And now I see staff get it because they're feeling that same connection with other people that's actually filling their cup as well. So it's like this circle. Like, if we're able to support and really do positive youth development with our staff, they'll do it with their kids. Those kids are going to take it home and do it with their friends and family. And then they're going to want to come back. I'm excited, right? Because I want to see you more than once. And the cycle just continues. And yeah, that's how it's working with our team members.
And this is the next generation of leaders within the association or within our communities or as parents. And again, once you have the lens, your mindset shifts and you really start supporting those emotional and social development needs of kids rather than just the transactional needs that they have.
Yes.
It's exciting. And I think there's misconceptions about our young staff as well, but they are phenomenal. They do a phenomenal job out there. And they relate extremely well to the campers. They're so close in age that they do have a real reality check in what experiences they are having and challenges that they are having.
Yeah, those bonds, like you see, those professional bonds that they have that are really encouraging kids to, a great example is, not even as adults, we might not know how to make friends all the time. You just had friends. They were the friends that lived next door to you or the friends that had the same interests at school. You go to camp or you work at camp. Even as an adult, you might be learning what it's like to make friends, right? So if you're learning that process, you're also role modeling it and teaching it, right? So we're doing that all the time in so many different ways. If you're practicing being resilient, you're actually role modeling it and then creating a space for kids to actually practice their resiliency. Like, it's all happening on all the levels all the time. Our young staff, our camp staff are phenomenal. I always say, if this is where the future's heading, we're in great hands. They're a great bunch of people.
So we have the camp staff being trained. How do you create the environment then that kids are seen, supported and challenged? Part of that is through maybe some of the staff training, but there's also the environmental factors, which is a huge pillar of PYD. Explain to me how you're looking through that lens and how that's working.
Our environment, in whether it's overnight camp, day camp, after school, in any of our child and youth development school age programs, we do a lot of small group work, right? And so you are with your group of friends in a group with your camp leader, right? And you're really building those connections, those bonds with that group so that you can try new things safely, right? You might not want to have tried climbing the wall on Monday, but you put on the harness. And by Wednesday, now you're really comfortable with this group of people, and now you are going to climb. Maybe it's just a little bit up, right? But the environment that we set of you're always going to be close to a camp leader, right? We want to make sure you're safe, you're supervised. We're always going to know where you are. But you're also going to have this group of friends, and this is your pack, this is your tribe, this is your group of people that you're going to experience things with. And yes, you're going to have time to choose and go outside of that group, but you're going to come back to that group at the start and end of every day. And depending on your age, you might be with that group the whole time. That, in the sense when you first come in, you're welcomed by name, your staff member has a list and they know who you are, right? That makes you feel good. They knew I was coming today, right? And so you're welcomed. That's PYD. Right? You're welcomed by your name when you come in, you're brought into the group, and then let's start forming connections, right, with this group to be able to do things. And then the environment, you'll see at camp now, like we might have headphones in some areas because if it's really loud and that's a sensory overload for you, go put on some headphones and then come back and just join the group and you can still be a part of it, but it maybe won't be so stimulating for you, right? Like those things are adjusting the environment and even the way a schedule's set up. You know, I love a new part of our training, right? Because we're always learning. It's not like we came in 3 years ago and said we're doing everything on day one. It's a journey and a process for us as we're training and teaching. So now we look at the schedule and go, okay, what are the times throughout the day where we can just exhale, where we can just lay down and look at the clouds, right? Where we can have moments where you sit next to a different kid and during different meal times, and so you connect and chat to different kids. Or instead of walking at the front of the group and all the kids are walking in a line, PYD is we can walk in a clump if we want to walk in a little clump, right? If I'm a staff member, I can be in the middle and chat to this kid because I can see that maybe something happened in the last activity that made them a bit sad. So I'm just going to walk with them to the next activity, right? Doesn't need to be any big formal thing of sitting down, but I'm just going to chat to them so that they're ready for the next place as we're transitioning, right? So all of those connecting while you transition, taking time for a little one-on-ones in a group environment, welcoming kids to the start of the day, that's all positive youth development within the environment.
Sure is. How are staff managing to deal with the environment is set up and then they are focusing with intentional relationships, but children and young people can have challenges at camp, and sometimes that gets presented that is perceived as a behavior, but it's not. Most often it's them trying to communicate something and they don't have words, they don't have language. It's anxiety or distress, or there's something going on for the kiddo and they just don't have the words or the language and it presents as something else. How are staff having the tools to be able to support those emotional, social issues that are presented with some of these kids, rather than it being that's a behavior, that's disrespectful, well, that's not welcomed here, because that's a shift in our mindset.
Yeah.
And it's really difficult. If we're being honest, it can be really
Yeah.
difficult. So how are staff managing that? What else can we do, or what needs to be done to be able to support that?
I would say that's what most of our staff are most anxious about. They just want every kid to have this great experience, right? And they really own that. They were like, I want every kid to make friends and have this great time. But things happen, right? Things happen during the week and there are different, reactions to different things that are happening. So PYD, here's some of the big changes that it's made. One is that, do you know that that child now feels safe enough to have that emotion in front of you in that way because you made them feel safe to be able to do that? So instead of it being like, why is, say I'll use my own name, right? So why is Nat acting that way? Why doesn't she respect me? Actually, it's not because Nat doesn't respect you. It's actually because you made Nat feel so safe that she's actually able to have this moment right now. So now when we see a behaviour, we're able to go, wow, like I actually created this safe environment for a kid to be who they needed to be in that moment. That feels completely different than before. Like, what am I doing wrong? Why isn't this working, right? Having all those other reactions where you're really just beating yourself up as a staff member, right? And now you're able to actually change that. The other big thing with positive youth development is our role is not to fix children because they are not broken. And once we're able to understand that, we can train on that, and we do. We do a lot of training with escalation scales and, when kids are feeling a certain way, how to speak to them here and what. We do a lot to really help guide behaviour because we don't want kids to live in that behaviour for too long, right? We want them to be able to come back, be part of the group, and we want everyone to have a great experience. However, we also know that we're not here to fix children anymore. They're not broken, and so we're here just to help them work through that and come back into the group when they're ready to do so. And the way that our camps are set up is we have so many staff that are there that if your group needs to move on to swim, right, because they do, right, they need to move on to swim time, and if 9 of the kids are all ready to swim but one's not quite ready to swim, we still need to head on off to swim time. So how can we make sure that kid knows that's okay, you can stay with the group but you don't need to hop in the water right now if you're not ready? Or I'm going to call someone to come and actually come with you and walk with you until we're ready. And you can walk a little bit behind the group as long as I can still see you and hear you. So make sure that you're safe. And so we start adapting those ways instead of thinking it's all or nothing. We all have to be achieving or none of us are achieving. that's actually not how it needs to work, right? And so giving our staff grace to actually go like, you're doing an amazing job. Like, this is really hard, and you're helping all of these kids learn and achieve and make friends. And yes, that happened today, right? And that kid was, having the moment where they didn't want to interact and they didn't want to be friends, or they were yelling and whatever. But you know what? You created an environment where they actually felt safe to do that. And now look at them. They've come back into the group and they're ready to do something again in their time. That's all positive youth development. And so our staff just taking care of themselves, right, and setting realistic expectations, right, and understanding development. We teach a lot of age development now, which we never used to back when I started in the 90s and the early 2000s. Kids were just kids, right? Now we teach a lot about what's developmentally appropriate, what makes sense. Okay, if a 5-year-old does this or a 12-year-old does this, okay, that's a little bit different, right? So yeah, that makes sense for a 5-year-old to act that way, because they're 5. And so we do a lot in really educating our staff on development, but also letting them know you have a lot of support, you don't need to fix kids, and you're creating this amazing environment for kids to be themselves in whatever mood they're having. Like, keep doing it. You're awesome.
It's really great to hear. And we talk a lot about like that needs-based response, and that's exactly what you're summing up. Like, whatever the kid needs is really what we're trying to give them at that given time. As much as possible. Though the world is changing, the needs of kids are changing, as we know. How do you see the YMCA camps evolving to continue making this lasting impact?
We change all the time. Our traditions stay pretty focused, right? But we're always changing because we're listening to the community, we're listening to our families, we're training different, we are spending way more time hiring our staff. So many of our staff now work with us year round, right? So we're able to actually build on their skill set throughout the year. But camp, I think, is more important than ever. I always think camp is important. I think kids should be encouraged to step out into an environment in the outdoors with a group of friends that they probably never would have met if they hadn't come to Y Camp. That's important because that's how the world works. Throughout your life, you're going to interact with people that you didn't know that are from different backgrounds, different schools, different communities, different families. And so being able to do that in a safe space is so important now more than ever, right? Being able to learn how to connect one-on-one, right, is really important. And kids have that skill, right? That misconception of, I think kids have put kids in camp for half a day, that skill comes back real quick, and then we build on it, right? We need to continue to do that because as the world changes around them, kids still need those basic skills of, one of the things we say is connection is protection. Right? You're able to protect yourself from all different things in the outside world if you have those friendships, you have those bonds, you have the skill set to know how to connect, and camp will continue to do that forever.
And there is the Childhood Unplugged campaign going around, which is really a drive to get kids unplugged off technology and social media and platforms and gaming, and really back into real life, real world experiences where they are present and connected. So as a parent or as a YMCA staff, if you were on the fence about sending your kiddo to camp, what would you tell them, or what would your last message be?
Just one message, other than do it, because I think it's amazing, is that really be, as a parent, as a caregiver, really be a part of your kids' camp experience. Your kids are going to come. They're going to have if you're on the fence about it, ask your kid what really excites you. There is a YMCA camp out there for every possible hobby. Right? If your kid likes something, there's a camp for it, right? Like, there's camps for everything. Find out what your kid's really excited about, what they're interested about, and put them in a camp that really, hones in on that interest, that skill, right? And then we'll take it from there, right? We'll make sure they try new things and jump out of their comfort zone. And then as a parent, try to be as part of that experience as much as possible. And I don't mean come to camp. I know you're busy. Be out there, do that, right? We want you doing your thing, kids doing their things. But when you're riding your bike home from camp or you're walking to the car or whatever, just really hone in on those things of, tell me about a friend you made today. Tell me about something you achieved. Oh, was it a rough day? What happened when it was rough? Tell me, how did you deal with that? Be involved in those conversations with your kids because that's going to make you part of the camp experience as well. And really what most excites us is not just kids come to camp, but that camp and positive youth development will actually impact the whole family and the community. So yeah, just come be a part of it. Give it a go.
How do you think then this kid focused experience that are rooted in PYD can help? And you touched on earlier with your fab goals, help young people's character, confidence, and that sense of belonging. What are kids going to come away with?
They really come away with, I'm important, I matter, right? And as a youth development professional, I hope kids have always felt that in my presence. I think as parents, you also want your child to feel that, right? But they know that they might feel that with their parent or with their teacher, but to be able to feel it at camp at the Y with a group of other kids and camp leaders is a different feeling, right? That, wow, I really matter. Like, I'm important. And if I wasn't here this week, we say to kids all the time, if you weren't here this week, the week would look so different. Like, we want you to be here because you're really important to how camp's going to be so fun this week. And that feels really good for a kid. And that's what we want. We want kids to know, like, you matter and we want you to feel good. So keep doing it when you're at camp and when you leave as well.
Truly is. Those positive experiences will stay with them for the rest of those lives. And those camp staff could be one of those influential people that they've had a strong relationship with and a bond that has really like expanded their interest or broadened their horizons or really made an impact on them as a person. And it really is when they feel seen and heard, they feel like they are important, that they matter. And that truly is the best sense that we can give to our kids. Nat, thank you so much for joining us
Thank
today.
you.
Is there any other essential message you would like to share and why PY is more important than ever in this time frame for our listeners?
Yeah, I would say I really hope to see you out at camp. I really hope that we can really hope you see that you're bringing something to the table. When not only are we helping you learn how to connect, but someone at camp is connecting with you and you're making a difference in their life as well. Whether it's a staff member or a kid, I say every single kid who comes to camp, sure, you're connecting with someone. That person you're connecting with, you might be the first friend they've ever made outside of school. And they're going to remember you as a kid who did that. And that's super powerful. So I say positive youth development happens all ages in all creative ways.
Thank you so much for your time now. I am excited to circle back in the next 18, 24 months, see where it's
Yes.
at, where you've got us on the global scale.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks so much for your time.
Bye.
Bye, friends.